So while the rest of the world is racing toward an $8 trillion green economy prize, Ontario might be showing up to the party fashionably late. And by fashionably late, I mean potentially missing the entire event. Let's talk about what's happening with Ontario's energy strategy and why the Green Party is raising some serious questions. Ontario Greens leader Mike Schreiner just dropped a statement responding to a new report about which nations are actually leading the global energy transition. And according to him, Ontario's got a problem. While countries in Asia and the European Union are securing massive investments in renewable energy, Ontario's approach is heading in a different direction. We're talking about a $2.2 trillion investment that happened globally in 2025 alone. And the question on the table is, where's Ontario's slice of that pie? Here's the situation. Schreiner's pointing out that the Ford government is continuing to invest taxpayer money into oil and gas infrastructure. His argument is that in the middle of what he describes as a jobs crisis, the province should be focusing on renewable energy projects that could create what he calls good-paying, generational jobs using Ontario steel and locally produced technology. It's essentially a disagreement about economic strategy and where limited resources should go. Now, the comparison that's getting attention is the reference to energy policy approaches similar to those south of the border. The concern being raised is whether focusing on traditional energy sources makes sense when other regions are investing heavily in alternatives. Think of it like this: if everyone's building electric vehicle charging stations and you're still only building gas stations, you might end up with infrastructure that doesn't match where the market's heading. The numbers Schreiner mentions are pretty eye-opening. $8 trillion in the global green economy. That's not monopoly money, folks. That's real investment flowing to countries and regions that are positioning themselves as leaders in renewable energy, electric vehicle production, battery technology, and clean manufacturing. The question becomes whether Ontario is positioning itself to compete for those investments or taking a different path entirely. There's also the jobs angle to consider. Proponents of green energy investment argue that renewable projects create employment opportunities in manufacturing, installation, and maintenance. The counterpoint from those who support continued investment in traditional energy is that oil and gas infrastructure also creates jobs and provides energy security. It's a legitimate policy debate about which approach creates more economic benefit for Ontario residents. What makes this particularly relevant right now is timing. The transition to renewable energy is happening whether any single province participates or not. The question is whether Ontario wants to be manufacturing the solar panels and wind turbines, or importing them, whether Ontario steel gets used in these projects, or whether that steel comes from somewhere else. It's about industrial strategy as much as environmental policy. The challenge for any government is balancing immediate energy needs with long-term economic positioning. Traditional energy sources provide reliable power right now. Renewable energy requires upfront investment with returns that come over time. It's the classic debate between what works today versus what might work better tomorrow, and reasonable people disagree on the right balance. So where does this leave Ontario? That's the million-dollar question. Or rather, the trillion-dollar question. With global investment in green technology continuing to grow, the window for provinces to establish themselves as leaders in this space might not stay open forever. What's your take? Should Ontario be going all in on renewable energy to capture that global investment, or is the current approach the right balance? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this affects jobs, energy prices, and Ontario's economic future. And if you want to stay on top of Ontario politics and policy decisions as they happen, subscribe to Canadian Truth. We're breaking down the stories that matter, multiple times a day. See you in the next one.